Right now, Monster Hunter is going through a pretty insane resurgence. I think the perspective of like Monster Hunter Rise, why is everybody playing Monster Hunter World? Outside of just like a Capcom effort to bring everyone to come back into World, I think it's more why have people stayed around, right? Because yeah, you get these games that come back a little bit. You know, people will check it out for a second, but here's the thing about Monster Hunter World. Everyone has stayed, including myself. I didn't just download the game, fire it up, see what it's like, and then, you know, been like, okay, yeah, cool. I've put like 10 hours into the PC version of this game, effectively starting over. So what does Monster Hunter World feel like? Well, there's some quality of life stuff in gameplay that's a lot better, and I think there are things in Rise that are much better than World. But after coming back to World, it makes me realize how much shit is better in this game than Rise. And it's not like one game is better than the other. To me, it felt like, dude, I can't even go back to World after playing Rise. I don't even want to. Why would I want to do that? It's just so slow and meandering. All the grindy stuff, all the decorate. No, the story, there's so much. No. I don't want to do any of that. My brain as I'm playing through Monster Hunter Rise. But here's the thing. I'm 10 hours into this game and getting through it kind of fast that I've already put 600 plus hours into from a previous perspective. From when it came out, right? We did everything in this game. We literally soloed Fatalis. It's like the hardest thing to do in the game practically. And for some reason, it's got its jaws around me all over again. Around me again. And now I'm like thinking about it and stuff. I mean, it helps. We've changed the game slightly. There's like a bit of a retooling to the game with the ice mod. Kind of changes how some weapons played, but we're just, you know, we're only playing one weapon. As I said before, World feels like it could be a sequel to Rise. Even though our brains have acclimated so much to Rise, I said this when we were playing the game, and I was looking at the game on PC, I'm playing it at like 120 FPS, which I haven't before, and I was like, dude, this game is amazing. And visuals are one thing. For sure, visuals are one thing. But when you go back to World, it's like, oh my god. To me, the monsters are really cool in Monster Hunter World, but guess what? Guess what's one of the things I like the most about this game? The environments, man. I just like going to places and doing stuff, exploration, like all that kind of small little stuff in between the hunting was really good in World. And it made me realize that Rise really tried to get rid of a lot of that. Simply because on a technical level, Rise just couldn't do as much as World could in terms of its environmental interaction. There's another game that's comparable that is also a Capcom game that went through a somewhat similar progression, where it's like the new game is like appreciated by some, but when you go back to the old game, it causes this resurgence all of a sudden. And it's a fighting game, and it's shockingly Marvel vs. Capcom. MVCI obviously was a game that, like, for me personally, did a lot of stuff gameplay-wise that made me really like, but it just didn't look as good. And it didn't have the things that I liked as much in the Marvel vs. series, but had some things that were like, damn, this is super fun. I really love this. However, a few years later, and the same thing happened for a very large part of the community, in 2020, 2021, Marvel started popping off, and it obviously wasn't MVCI. It was Marvel 3. There were more people jumping back and playing Marvel than like ever before, and figuring out ways to play it so much that years down the line, yeah, there was like a resurgence and it's back at EVO and it's popping off super hard. It's like, holy crap, dude. Not nearly on the scale of Monster Hunter. We're talking like 1/50th the scale of which people are playing this. Somebody just said there is 160,000 people playing this game on Steam. And it's also on Xbox and it's also on PlayStation. That's so many people that are doing this shit. And it all started because Capcom was just like, hey, come back to World. And so a lot of people jump back in, but here's the thing that's going to bring this story around. Games get minor boosts in population all the time, but they usually go down. But I'm feeling like the same thing has happened to a lot of other people, where a lot of people moved on to Rise, and Rise did a lot of stuff that was amazing. And for me, I'll say those reasons specifically in a second, for me was super fun. However, going back to World on the PC version, something about this game grabs you a little bit more. Something about it doesn't have as good pacing in the I'd say low rank to high rank, but man, now that I'm in Iceborne, I'm like, this shit is a roller coaster, dude. I'm having a great time. If there's one thing I will always give Rise credit, the gameplay is super fun. It's almost like Monster Hunter All-Stars gameplay-wise. Everybody gets supers and abilities thanks to Wirebug's mobility is insane and insanely fun. It feels impossible to go back. The story of Rise is actually way better, and I don't mean like thematically, I mean like playing through the story mode. Going through low rank, going through high rank is way better. However, there's one thing that Rise lost me on, and it was endgame. So while there was some things to do, I didn't end up doing all of the endgame stuff. I think I missed out on the final version of Malzeno. A lot of the stuff they wanted you to do to grind out the endgame for me was just not that great. And to me, it was like, wow, we're having such a good time. And then it's over. And then it sort of dropped off. And it's like, okay. Yeah, and I felt that for Rise Vanilla and Sunbreak. It was sort of the same thing. Something about it just doesn't give me the like, oh, I just want to get back in and go hunt shit. I'm like looking forward to getting to the end game of Monster Hunter World again, right? Literally again. However, I find myself just like completely captivated all over again by this game and unlocking things. I feel like I'm constantly like making progression and getting stuff done and going out and blowing shit up. I think the bigger question we have to answer now is Monster Hunter Rise or World? And I think both of them have value, right? Rise is just a hyper balls to the walls version of Monster Hunter, where everyone, like I said, is a superhero, and these wirebugs make the game just nuts, like constantly. It's Monster Hunter, but it's insane. It's the Marvel versus Capcom 2 of Monster Hunter games. But there's something about, like, even in my brain, how can I go back to World after I have access to all this stuff? Yes, it's the boots on the ground thing. Yeah, I guess so. And I don't even know if that's it exactly. I think it's like, again, games aren't just only gameplay. I'd love to tell you they are, that games are not just gameplay, right? Or games could just live on gameplay alone. There's something about atmo, sound, world building, environment, and the way the monsters like look and react to things. There's just something about like smacking a bitch in the face and they go bleh, and you see all this crazy stuff hit. This giant pickle takes this massive tumble, knocks over all these trees and all this crazy stuff that might not have been as well represented in Monster Hunter Rise. And then you see all that and be like, God damn, I feel like a god. Once again, I forgot. I actually forgot how it was going to be. Here at the end of all things, it's definitely worth it to check out World right now. For anybody that's curious to go back into this game, there's so many people playing that it's absolutely worth it to just go re-experience what for a lot of people is one of the greatest games of all time. Monster Hunter World is not a perfect game by any means, nor is Monster Hunter Rise. Most of these Monster Hunter games like improve upon themselves in several ways, but also like backtrack in some ways, and Rise is the perfect example of that. But now we got this huge question of what the hell is Wild going to be like?